1978, sponsored by California State PTA, to add research-based family engagement guidance and practice into the California Education Code. And locally, our PTAs offer the Art at Your Fingertips project to teach art in our elementary schools, and we support the National PTA Reflections program. We provide disaster supplies and support training and drills, and we offer programs to encourage parent involvement, such as family nights and fun runs. The PTA is committed to civic engagement, and we organize an annual trip to Sacramento called Capital Convoy, which gives our students, teachers, and parents a chance to advocate for our PTA and school district priorities. Children and families have been and remain PTA priorities, and by joining a local PTA or the Golden State PTA, you help us to continue to advocate for our greatest resource, our children. So thank you for joining us tonight to learn about the candidates for the Pvpusd School Board. And I'd like to introduce Nancy Moore with the League of Women Voters, with whom our PVP Council of PTAs partnered to organize this event tonight.
As Beth said, I'm Nancy Moore, and I'm the Voter Service Director for the League of Women Voters of the Palos Verdes Peninsula. And the League is very pleased to be working with the PTA Council in presenting this forum tonight. And I want to thank all of the League and PTA members who were volunteers and worked to help put the forum together to assist you voters in the coming election. Now I want to say just a couple of words about the League. We have to have our commercials, you know. The League of Women Voters is a nonprofit organization that works for good government, citizen education, and citizen participation. The League also is a nonpartisan political organization. We do take stands on issues, but we never endorse or oppose candidates or political parties. Civility in discussion of public issues is an important League principle. So we ask courtesy in all comments and responses tonight, both from the audience and from our candidates. I want to note just a couple of other election activities that are coming up this month. There is a candidate forum here in this room on Saturday, this coming Saturday, the 13th, 10 in the morning until noon, for the State Assembly and State Senate districts. They're the candidates for those seats. On Monday night, the 15th, at the PV Center Library, there will be a presentation on the ballot measures, pros and cons, in the community room from 7 to 9. And another one on Saturday the 20th from 2 to 4 in the afternoon at the San Pedro Library. And lastly, there is on the 23rd another forum for the school board candidates that will be sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce and the Council of Homeowners Association with the League of Women Voters. And now I'd like to introduce the moderator for the evening, a very experienced moderator, an experienced League of Women Voters member, Mary Ellen Barnes.
Thank you, Nancy. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Candidates Forum. I want to go over the format and the ground rules so that the candidates understand and the audience understands. We're taking only written questions this evening from the audience. So if you have a question or want to write a question out, raise your hand, and one of the people around the edge of the room will give you a card and a pencil, and then they come up here. And we're going to try to ask every question that we get. If your question doesn't get answered, it's not because we're censoring you. Truly, it's because either we ran out of time or the question basically was already asked before, in a slightly different way. But, how many times are we going to ask people essentially the same question? All of our candidates tonight have agreed to abide by our timetable and our rules. So after I introduce the candidates, they're going to each have 2 minutes for their opening statements. They drew little numbers to where they're sitting. So when we do the opening statements, we'll be starting with Megan and working our way down. And when we do closing statements, we'll be starting down at the far end of Rick and working our way back. So everybody will get a chance to be first, second, third, and fourth in things. After the opening statements, they will have a minute and a half, up to a minute and a half, to answer each question. And the closing statements are 1 minute each. So that's how we're going to do it. We have two timekeepers tonight. We have Cindy Condon up here and Ellen Aiken, and they're right here in front. They will be letting you know when, 30 seconds? Is that what we're doing? 30 seconds, and we're going to...
1 minute.
1 minute, so on your opening statement, we'll give you the 1 minute mark, the 30-second, and then they'll get a little stop sign. And when you get to the stop sign, it would be nice if you could wrap up. I will let you kind of finish your thought. You don't have to stop mid-sentence, but, don't abuse it and keep going on for, forever and ever, because if you do, then I will just cut you off. So that's how that works. This is designed to provide a nonpartisan setting for undecided voters to hear everybody's position on questions. So we really don't want, like somebody's cheering section, or booing, that kind of thing. That's out of order. And if you do that, I will ask you to leave the room. So now I would like to introduce our candidates. So starting down this end with Ms. Megan Crawford, Dr. Jeannie Hahn, Mr. Matthew Rock, and Mr. Rick Phillips. So now we're going to begin with our opening statements, and we're starting with Megan. And Megan, you have 2 minutes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Megan Crawford, and I'm running for a position on the Palos Verdes Peninsula Unified School Board. I want to thank everyone for coming here today to hear from all of the candidates for the Board of Education. I'm running because I want to make a difference and give back to my community. I have grown up in Palos Verdes my whole life and attended the wonderful schools that are found here. I went to Rancho Vista Elementary School, Marilest Intermediate, and Palos Verdes Peninsula High School. With the high quality of education I received here, I then moved on to earn an AA degree from Marymount California University on the Hill. And then I went to UCLA and received my bachelor's degree. And then I decided to go into teaching and got my multiple subject teaching credential and Master of Arts in Education from Pepperdine. I am now attending USC, where I'm working towards my Master of Public Administration. I want to make sure that students in my community have as great of schools or better as when I attended. As a former student in the district and now a current 6th grade math and science teacher in Redondo Beach, I believe this unique perspective is what is needed for the district to continue to remain great and make some adjustments where needed. As a teacher, I'm an advocate for students and help them daily, and as a board member, I will make sure that any decisions I make put students first. I am bringing a diversity of expertise again that is desperately needed. I also think it is important to encourage the younger members of our community to get involved in their local government. And I think that my youth is an asset because I am passionate, I have high energy, and I'll bring new ideas to our schools. The top issues I want to focus on for this school district include balancing the budget, focusing on high quality curriculum and education, listening to teachers' opinions and ideas, improving student wellness, both physical and mental, and also student safety, sustainability in the district, and extending community partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeannie.
Hello, my name is Dr. Jeannie Hahn, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I received my PhD in sociology of marriage and family therapy from USC. I have 2 children in the district. One is an 8th grader at Ridgecrest, and the other is an 11th grader at Penn. I fell in love with this district the moment I walked into the kindergarten room at Soleado Elementary School, and that started my activities and being involved in the PTA, the Booster Club, and even on site council. I have a track record of bringing real change to policies and programs in the school district. I spearheaded the change to non-toxic cleaning products in the school district, and now the whole school district is using non-toxic cleaning products in every school and in every site that we use. I also chaired the AC Ridgecrest Air Conditioning Task Force, which lobbied the school district to work on the high temperatures in our classrooms at Ridgecrest, which reached up to almost 90 degrees for our kids. At that time, parents, the PTA, and teachers, we all worked together to ask the school district for help. And in that, we became the first school district that had cool water fountains. And this year, we have a $1.4 million upgrade for electrical grid, which is the first step to having air conditioning at Ridgecrest. And I'm very proud that I was able to work on that. You know, I'm very solution focused. I do not come with a problem without working on a solution, and I'm a hard worker. And as a therapist, I have to tell you that I really believe that mental health is really important. And one of the things I would like to do is to have a budget that's reader friendly, to have a glossary of terms, and also to have footnotes to understand the different categories in our school. You know, the most important thing is we could have a school district that is academically high achieving for everyone, but also to have safe, successful, and most of all, happy children in our school district. If we could have that, we would be such a wonderful school district. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt?
Hi, thank you for hosting us. I'm Matthew Brock, a father of 2 Palos Verdes students, a son at Penn High and a daughter at Pvpusd. So during the course of the campaign, the most common question I get is, why did you decide to run? And it is a difficult decision to run. You're putting yourself out into a whole new world. But what I did was, you know, as a board member of the PTA at Montemalaga, I experienced firsthand the wonderful relationship the parents had with the schools. But when it came to the district, it wasn't quite the same. There was a lack of trust, and parents just didn't feel the same way. So I asked myself what I could contribute. I'm a parent, an active and involved member of the PTA. I was a high school coach, and I have a background in counterterrorism. I truly felt that the experience I have could benefit the district. I am periodically visited, I personally visited the 17 schools on the Hill. And I met with the principals and the teachers, and it was wonderful just to see how great our schools are. And our schools are great because of the parent involvement. It's because of the PTA. It's because of the boosters. And we need to make sure that that continues. From Voyagers to Sea Kings, from Marauders to Raiders, and Eagles to Panthers. They're wonderful because of the collaboration. And we need to bring that same spirit of teamwork to the district. We share a common goal, and that goal is to produce terrific students and terrific people who are ready to go out into the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick?
Good evening. I want to thank the League of Women Voters and the PTA Coordinating Council for hosting tonight's candidate forum. I appreciate this opportunity to discuss the issues with you, the voters, and also hear my fellow candidates' views. I've been honored to serve our community as a member of the Palos Verdes Peninsula Unified School District Board this past year. My wife, Allison, and I have lived in the community for over 20 years and are the parents of 2 boys who graduated from and benefited greatly from attending Palos Verdes schools from TK through 12th grade. Allison and I have volunteered extensively in the community and the schools, she through the PTA, myself through the PF, both of us through the booster clubs, and since semi-retiring in 2013, I've devoted even more time to community boards. As part of the board, I've always focused on solving issues in the best interests of the students. My ability to think independently, solve problems creatively, and listen to multiple viewpoints have enabled me to be an effective board member. In addition, I bring 20 years of professional finance experience, which I believe is one of the primary reasons that the board appointed me in February to fill a vacant seat. I'm proud to report that as we enter this school year, we actually have a balanced budget after multiple years of deficit spending. 2012 was the last year that we actually ran a surplus and did not deficit spend. As many of you know, this was also a year of transition for the leadership of the district. Hiring a superintendent is really the most important job the Board of Education does. By engaging in a national search, we successfully recruited Alex Turnus to be our new superintendent. We recruited him from the #1 academically ranked district in the state, and he also has extensive fiscal management experience. If elected, my priorities include academic excellence, long-term fiscal responsibility, student wellness, increased board transparency, and increasing community involvement. Throughout my tenure on the board, I have established a proven track record of voting according to what I sincerely believe is the best interest of all our students. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to start with the first question, and because Megan went first with the opening statements, we'll start with Jeannie and work our way down, and Megan will be last, okay? So no surprises here. All right. What life experiences qualify you for being on the school board?
Well, one of the things I've been hearing in the district is the mental health of our kids. Parents have told me and my daughter's friends, and even I see it at home, that our kids are stressed, that our kids have anxiety. Daily Breeze, 3 years ago, talked about we had a 30% increase of suicide. Kids reported they wanted to commit suicide. It's an epidemic in our school district. My mental health background helps me to look at the programs that we're working with the school district, but it also helps me to understand what's happening to our kids in a systemic level, and to also look at solutions that we can have. One of the things I would love to bring is the whole idea of mindfulness into our school district. You know, mindfulness is one of those, I'm so sorry, does that mean I have to finish soon? Okay, I'm sorry, mindfulness is one of the things we like to bring, and studies have shown that it has reduced stress and also increased math ability. So it's one of the things that I can bring is my expertise in marriage and family therapy background.
Okay, thank you. Matt?
Thank you. As a former high school coach, I have experienced some of the same joys and frustrations our teachers have. My experience provides empathy and understanding and a desire to support our educators. As a government contracted subject expert in counterterrorism and force protection, I can provide crucial insight into security concerns facing our campuses and the dangers our students are facing both externally and internally. I completely agree with Jeannie that mental health is a serious issue in our district. As a small business owner and a member of the PTA, I understand how to work with limited budgets and how to watch every dollar, and yet not lose sight of what is important, the development and the growth of our students.
Okay, thank you. Rick, life experiences.
Well, first off, I'm on the board, so that's kind of a unique experience. But I also am a parent of 2 kids that actually experienced the whole school system all the way from TK through 12th grade. In addition, I have a lot of board experience, and not just on the school board, both in for-profit boards and in non-profit boards. And so I think that helps me understand the proper role of a board, which really is to set policies and provide governance and not to manage the school district. And it's important to realize that on the board, our job is to hire one person in the district, the superintendent. The superintendent hires everybody else, including all the principals. And it's really the superintendent's and the principal's jobs to manage the site. So is 1 minute, is that the end, or is that?
No, okay, you have a minute and a half to answer, and she's just counting down, so she's saying, you're at the 1 minute mark, you have 1 minute left, essentially.
Okay, sorry. So 1 minute left. All right.
Yeah.
I'm just a little confused. Thank you.
Oh, there we see that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so did you, or, okay. I didn't quite tell us, but you were just confused there. Okay, Megan, life experiences.
Yeah, well, life experiences, I know that everyone's talking about being a parent of schools in the district, but I actually went through the school system here. This is my actual life experience. I went through K through 12 schools here, so I've lived it, right? And so I want to give back to my community. Like Matt said, the goal is to have terrific students that graduate and go out into the world. Hopefully I think that's me, and I'm coming back to give back to my community. As far as other experience, I am a teacher, like I stated before. And so my goal is to help all students. Speaking of goals as well, the superintendent came out with some goals yesterday. And so he stated that 25% of our students are below grade level in math and language arts. So there's something we need to do about that. As a teacher at Paris Middle School in Redondo Beach, we have this program called Tutorial, which is basically an intervention program for students. Gives them 30 minutes twice a week where they can go into teachers and get that extra help that they need. And so that's one way that I think that we can reduce our students that are not meeting grade level, and all of those things are important. And I bring that life experience being a student and being a teacher. Lastly, my MPA degree, that teaches me to look at problems that are occurring and all solutions that we can come up with, analyze the pros and cons of each, and also think about what stakeholders are going to be affected with each decision that we make. It's important that we get that community feedback as well.
Great, thank you. All right, we're going to start this question with Matt, and then it'll go to Rick, and then like that. Okay, describe your experience with organizational budgets.
As a member of the PTA for 2 years, we dealt with actually large budgets. I think our budget was right around $170,000. And it was important that every dollar that we spent went towards a goal, which was making the school better for our students. And it is important to keep that in mind, that every dollar that we have needs to go back into supporting our students. You know, we have wonderful programs that the PTA provides, and their enhancement opportunities. I think that was my favorite thing visiting all the schools, was how unique they are. That each one has their own identity, each one has their own character, and the parents are the ones who are driving that. And I truly enjoyed that experience. Knowing that and making sure that every dollar, as I mentioned before, was spent wisely. It wasn't, you have to treat every dollar as if somebody made a distinct decision to give you that dollar. You can't just take it for granted. We have limited money, we have limited funds, and we need to make sure that we are putting the money where it belongs.
Thank you. Rick?
So my experience with organizational budgets really goes back over 30 years when I was with Hughes Aircraft and was a program manager, project manager, and I had to deal with the budget. The government said they needed something, we had to build it, and we had to find a way to get it done on that budget. It involved managing lots of people, and involved managing lots of tasks. Since that time at Hughes, I went on to get an MBA in finance at UCLA. That gave me further expertise in understanding finance and financials and how to interpret them. For 15 years after that, I was an investment banker advising CEOs in terms of how to deal with their financial situations and how to best position their companies and the financial results to give them the optimal result for the outcomes they wanted. And I also ran my own business. I had my own business that I managed and was CEO of for 5 years. Small business, wasn't as big as the school district. School district, we have a $125 million budget approximately. As I said, one of the things that I'm proud of is that I was part of the board that actually brought a balanced budget to the district. When I came onto the board, last year the budget was in deficit at $6 million. When we closed the year, it was at $3 million. And we had passed a budget that was $1 million looking forward into this year. And due largely to some of the upside in terms of how the budget got passed by the state, we ended up actually with a balanced budget right now for the first time in 12 years. Or sorry, 2012.
Thank you. Okay, Megan.
So I guess a couple things. I do balance my budget in everyday life. The teacher paycheck is slightly different than everyone else. We don't get paid every month, and so I do get paid 11 months out of the year, and so with my own personal budget, I do have to make sure that I have enough for each month, right, and other things that are going on. So I have that. Also, I was a leader of my social committee at my middle school, and so that was to build teacher camaraderie and get teachers to do more activities together. And so I collected funds from people, needed to make sure that we had enough funds to supply breakfast, lunches, and things like that. But I think it is important. The main thing we want is someone who we can trust with our money, right? And so it is important that we're fiscally responsible. We are stewards of public funds, and we need to put our money where our priorities are. And I think really most of it belongs in the classroom. And so if elected, I will do the best job that I can along with my fellow board members to make sure that we are being fiscally responsible with our decisions. And I know that a lot of our money comes from the EDA with students. We also have about $3 million a year with our education, Peninsula Education Foundation, as well as about $7 to $8 million a year with parcel tax. And so it is important that we be as fiscally responsible as possible with our budget.
Thank you. Jeannie?
I sat on many PTA boards, and if you ever have sat on the PTA board, the one thing we always talk about is budget, because budget drives our school. And what we do is we get money from parents who donate the money. And can I tell you that there's times that I've talked to the parents, and we've sat there and we agonize of what we can pay for and what we can't. One of the things that the Rich Chris is looking at is field trips, because the bus fare has gone up. And we have to make those hard decisions. And then we have to figure out how to fundraise for those things. And then we have to talk about these issues that we can. And so when we work at the budget, when you're on the PTA, you get a certain amount of money and you have to make that decision. And you have to figure out how to spend it. And so working on the PTA has really helped me with organization of budget. And also I think the one thing that's really helped me to do is to really analyze what programs are working and what programs are not. What should we fund and what should we not fund? And that's really important to understand when you're on the PTA and as a parent. And also it translates to the budget of the district. Because sometimes when you see things, when you see it on the grass level and when you see it in the grassroots level at what's happening at the school, sometimes that is what's really important. That's what you have to see, and that is what our money. And also when you talk to parents, like having world language at the elementary school level, we need to look at things that our kids need and how can we budget for that? Also at the PTA level, at the school level, but also at the district level.
Thank you. Okay, this question we're going to start with Rick. There are student representatives who sit with the school board. What would you think of an elementary, middle school, and high school representative also sitting with the school board?
I mean, I have no objection to the elementary or middle schools having representatives. What I do have an objection to is that the way we use and involve our student representatives right now. Under California law, student representatives are allowed a preference vote, which means that they get to vote on the issues and they actually get to participate in the board discussions and provide the input of the students, which is really the point of having the student representatives on the board. Unfortunately, the board really hasn't encouraged the participation of the student representatives. And so what the student representative's role has become on the board has been one more of providing an activity report, which is great because it helps us keep informed as to what's going on at the high schools. But it really doesn't give us what I would like to see from the student board rep's role, which is their ideas and thoughts about the issues that the board is dealing with. The students, have a lot of ideas. When we're talking about cell phone policy, we've never been in classrooms with cell phones, right? We grew up and there were no cell phones in classrooms. However, the students, that's a reality of everyday life for them. So they understand both the pros and the cons of cell phones in the classrooms. And I really wish that our student board representatives, at whatever level we have them, would participate more, both in the discussion and also by informing us with their preference votes.
Thank you. Megan?
I think it's a great idea. I mean, why not have more representation from students who are actually at the schools every day? As far as the high school students go, we do have one representative from each of the high schools, and so maybe we could have some sort of rotation with one student from each of the middle schools and one student from each of the elementary schools. I think that they could give us a lot of advice and feedback on things that are important, especially in regards to mental health programs, bullying. Where do they actually see the problems? And so principals are great. Obviously, they give us a lot of feedback, but I think hearing it from the students is what is most important. And so whether that's giving students a site survey at each elementary school and a site survey at each of the middle schools. How safe are you feeling at your school? Let's see, at the high schools, they added some counselors to help with their mental health issue. And so are students using those resources? Is it helping? And so I think it is important to hear from each of the students. They're never too young to give advice. And so I think it would be good to have some sort of rotation with them like we do the high school students.
Thank you. Jeannie?
Actually, I really like the idea of having more participation from our student body, because I think sometimes as adults, we think we know what's happening and we really don't. So it's really nice to have that input. And I've gone to board meetings and I love to hear what the high school students say and give reports. And I do think it'd be nice to have them give more ideas and have more input. The only thing I would caution is sometimes the board meetings can get a little heated. And so I would caution that maybe as an elementary student, they might want to leave a little early if we know that some topic is coming up that they don't need to see or talk about. So that's the only thing I'd probably caution about. But I would love to see them happen, because I think the more participation and the more involvement we have at every grade level, that's what's really going to make our school much more special.
Thank you. Matt?
I think it's a wonderful idea. The board needs to become inclusionary. We need to listen to the voice of parents, we need to listen to the voice of students, and we need to share ideas. We are all trying to accomplish the same thing, so let's hear from everybody. And I think that having students participate in this is another form of education. Those students who are coming, they're learning how government works. So any opportunity that we have to create opportunities to further learning are positive. So I fully support the idea of having the inclusion of the students.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to start this question with Megan. Do you represent any special interests? And if so, who?
I don't represent any special interests. I represent the voice of the students. I'm their voice, and whatever decisions I make as a board member are going to put students first. As a teacher, like I've already said, I'm in the classroom daily, and so I know what students and teachers need to succeed. I want to be a teacher voice, but I also want to be a student voice. I'm an independent thinker. I make decisions on my own. I evaluate all pros and cons of a situation, and like I stated before, what decisions we make are going to affect which stakeholders. Obviously, I'm one vote out of 5 people, but I'm going to state my opinion, and no one is going to tell me what to do. So I think it is important to know that. So the short answer is no, I'm not representing any special interests.
Thank you. Jeannie?
No, I'm not representing any special interest. Anybody who knows me knows I'm a very independent thinker. I'm very honest and I'm straightforward. One of the things I love about what I'm looking forward to seeing on the board is actually having really great discourse with my fellow board members to talk about ideas. But it's also important that we all have board members who are diverse and who bring different perspectives, and that's really important. But no, I don't represent any special interests. I represent the kids and the parents and the district as a whole, because those are the most important people.
Thank you. Matt?
No, I don't represent any special interest. I would like to represent the community. That's what we're here for. We're here for your students. We're here for the people who have had students who have passed, and we're even here for those who don't have students in our district. We're here for the community and nothing else.
Thank you.
No.
Okay. All right, we're going to start the next. That's it, right? Okay. We won't cut you off.
You don't have to bank those for next time.
Okay, we're going to start with Jeannie on this question. What do you believe can be improved by a reconfigured school board and some new faces?
Oh, so much. When you look at the school board and you talk about, when they do research about what happens with the school board, one of the things they talk about is when a school board works together well, they can move programs forward. They can work collaboratively together, And that's when you see changes in the school district. We are lucky because right now we have a new superintendent and we have the possibility of having almost a whole new board. And that is really amazing to be able to work with the superintendent and to work with people and work well together and to be able to talk and to move on and not be caught up in things, but to really listen to the voice of the community and make decisions based on what's really the best choices for the kids and the district and the parents and the community. That's what's really important. So yes, I'm excited about the new school board. I'm excited about the new superintendent, and I'm really excited where we can be headed as a school district in the future.
Thank you. Matt?
I am thrilled with the idea of a new board. And when you look around, the world changes, things change, and we need to change with it. We need to have a board that includes the thoughts of the community. We need to rely on the community. We need to seek their advice. We don't want to operate in a vacuum, and I think that, of all the candidates up here, I would be happy to work with any of them. They all bring something unique to the table. And the members who are still on the board are wonderful as well. So I'm really looking forward to a new culture on the board that is inclusionary, it's transparent, and we can rebuild the trust of the public.
Thank you. Rick?
I think some turnover is healthy on a board. I think it's, in this election, a majority of the board's up, which is, it happens every other election cycle. But it's clear that the board could use some new blood, both from the standpoint of new ideas and invigoration. It's also true that we are going through a leadership transition, and that after this election, there will be nobody on the board that selected the prior superintendent. It'll be a new board. And so that's part of, I think, the process of us transitioning to new leadership under the new superintendent. Board turnover is good. Even the one thing that worries me about turnover in this cycle is that we're going to have a relatively inexperienced board. We're losing our two longest tenured members who've served the district well, and Tony Colados, who's been on the board for 9 years, and Barbara Lucky's been on the board for 21 years. So we're losing a lot of historical knowledge. But board turnover is good, and I look forward to, if elected, to working with whoever else is elected at this table, as well as my two current colleagues who will remain on the board.
Thank you. Megan?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Sure, yes. What do you believe can be improved by a reconfigured school board and some new faces?
So I think that there's always room to improve. As a teacher, I reflect consistently in my classroom to see what I can do differently to help students. And so I think that there's always room for improvement. Definitely what everyone else has mentioned about diversity. We will get a diverse amount of knowledge with any of us being elected, especially me being a product of the district and being a current teacher. That is a perspective that I don't know that we've had, or maybe it's been a while. There is a difference between being a current teacher versus retired. We have different opinions and things, but I think it is something that is important. I am excited to work with the superintendent as well. He seems really great. He came from a high achieving district too, and I'm excited with the goals that he put out last night at last night's board meeting. Some things that we really do need to be concerned about right now are student mental health and student safety and just health in general. And so I think that is important for us to focus on. Next year, there is going to be an implementation of a new health curriculum in the state of California. And so as a board, we need to figure out where are we going to teach health to make sure that students are physically safe, especially with some potential drug issues that are going on. So that's something that's important too.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to start with Matt on this question. How will you improve the quality of nutrition offered to our children?
That is a terrific question. During my 17 school tour, I did stop at the lunch counter, and it was corn dogs and tater tots. And not quite what our students need. But one of the wonderful programs we do have is the salad bar. And there's salad, fresh fruit. And, I spoke to I'm sorry, I'm just calling it the lunch lady, and she said that they're well used, that the students actually take advantage of that cart quite often. I would love for us to investigate how we can improve the quality of our food and to really promote healthy eating in our district.
Thank you. Rick?
I think food quality has always been an issue at any campus, whether you're talking elementary through college. So it is something hard to do in terms of, the quantities of people wanting lots of nutritious food at the same time. One of the things that I think we could do better is that instead of only buying from institutional kinds of vendors, we could buy from local vendors. There's plenty of local sandwich shops, for example, that are happy to make nutritious sandwiches that both the parents and the kids would feel are appropriate for those kids. And so I'd like to see us do more partnerships with local vendors as opposed to national chains and national institutional food service vendors to provide the meals to our kids. And basically options. I would like there to be more options also for the kids and the parents to choose from.
Thank you. Megan?
So that's one of the issues too that I'm really concerned about is student physical health. So not just mental, but physical too. So making sure that our students are physically active and are eating the best foods that we can. I think that that's a great idea that Rick stated with foods from local vendors. I do know that a lot of our schools have school gardens, and so I think that they do need to be improved and increased throughout our school sites. And so I think it's happening a little bit right now, but wouldn't it be great if we had a big garden at each school site and we actually use the food that we grew in a salad bar or something like that? I think that that is something to look at. The students would be proud of that and they can see where food comes from and they're actually eating it. I do have a garden outside my school site right now. I partnered with a teacher last year and we got an education grant from Redondo Beach Ed Foundation. And so the students were so excited to see the food that we were growing and they were tasting tomatoes and everything. And so I think that would be great if all school sites had that and we can kind of incorporate that into our lunch program somehow.
Thank you. Jeannie?
As a mother, lunch is always a problem. It's always one of the things we struggle with. And my daughter, both of my kids have a lot of allergies, and that's one thing I'm very concerned about. So I would really love it if we could, when I went to a school, I saw a board that had what they had served, and then they had an allergy check. So that kids knew when they could pick food what the allergens were in. That's one of the things I would love to see in our school district, to work with the kids with more allergies. I would love the idea to have more choices, because, when a kid sees the same thing, because actually when you go online, you can see the menu for a month, what's happening. And that's one of the things you could talk to your kids about and show them what's happening. But at the same time, sometimes I've gone to school and I've seen the kids go like, and then, the trash can, right? It goes one to another, or they take one or two things. And I think we have to work on giving the kids choices, a variety. Our kids, a lot of our kids have very sophisticated taste buds now. And I don't think we should be scared to introduce different types of food into the lunch program, to give them a chance. But we do have gardens in our school district, and I know that when they harvest it, they do, like I know Soliato, when they harvest their garden, they sell it, and they sell the produce, and that's really wonderful. But we need to have more choices and different variety, and to also look at how to work into allergens.
Thank you. Okay, everybody answered that, right? Yes. Okay, we're going to start with Rick on this question. Being on the school board requires flexibility in schedules to meet and attend site events at all hours. Can you discuss your availability to attend meetings in the morning, afternoon, and evenings?
So that's one of the advantages of being semi-retired, is that I'm much more in control of my schedule than many other people. One of the things that I made it a point to do when I got appointed to the board last year was that I did go to each of the school sites. My school site visits take approximately 2 hours. I spend an hour with the principal, and then I spend an hour going to virtually every classroom on that campus and seeing how things are with the teachers and the kids, and observing what's good and bad at each site. I've started that tour this year. I started with the elementary schools this year, and so far started with Granada Bay and scheduled for Cornerstone tomorrow. Plan to get through all 16 sites by the end of this calendar year. And you know, I have great availability, and I think that that's important. I think that there's no way to really do the job unless you're able to go to the sites during the time that the kids are there. If you're not able to do that, you don't understand some of the issues that are occurring on the sites. You have to be able to interact with parents when they're available. You have to be able to respond to their issues, investigate their complaints, and come up with solutions. Also, when we were selecting a new superintendent, that required a ton of special meetings that we had morning, afternoon, and night, depending on the particular day. And so I think that the scheduling flexibility is important, and the availability to do the job. It's really a half-time job.
Thank you. Megan, your availability.
So yes, I am a teacher. I do have a full-time job, right? But that does not limit me or hinder me in being a great board member. I think it is important that we do have a diversity on our board, and so some of those people should be working full-time, right? I think that's something that's important. As far as flexibility, like any other job, I do have my annual days each year, and so I am committed to doing whatever is needed on this board, right? So I will take time off when needed. It is important to go to the school sites, like everyone has been saying. I have been visiting them as well, and so I think that any issues that arise, I will make sure that they are addressed. I deal with parents all the time, and I get back to them efficiently as a teacher. And so I think that we shouldn't be asking the question, what are people's availability? I think, what are people going to do to make sure that these issues get addressed? And like I said, I will make sure that I get to the school sites and attend all board meetings when needed. I will make sure that happens.
Thank you. Jeannie.
Well, one of the reasons I decided to run right now is my daughter's on the verge of driving, which, as you know, gives me a lot of freedom. So that's really great. I do think it's important to meet parents at times because there's emergencies that come up at school sites and that we need to respond to as board members. And so I would say that I'm available. I want to meet parents. I want to talk to them. It's important because it is a part-time job. I know it's supposed to be somewhat of a volunteer, but it is a part-time job. And when you decide to run for board, you have to make that commitment that there is going to be times that you have to put this first. Wednesday night, I've been going to board meetings. I give my daughter dinner, and I said, "I'll see you later," and I take off and I go to the board meetings. When I go to see the school sites, I make sure I schedule the time when my kids are in school. But at the same time, I also have a husband who's very supportive of me. And you have to have a spouse when you have children that can work together with you. And I have that, and I'm very fortunate. And I also have friends who I can call if I need transportation or I need help. And that it takes a village to raise everybody else's kids. And to have that support is really important.
Thank you. Matt.
As a small business owner, I have a very flexible time in when I actually need to work. I'm fortunate that my income is pale in comparison to my wife's, and so allows me a lot of flexibility to spend. I'm telling the truth here, and she's sitting back there. She's probably going to yell at me when I get home. But it gives me an opportunity. For the school tours, I sent Jenna an email. I said, the next 2 weeks, schedule me all the schools that you can. And she did. And whatever time she gave me, I wanted to be respectful of the principal's time. And I accepted it. I worked it around my schedule so I could visit every school and talk to every principal. And being able to see what's going on at school during the day, to see how teachers are interacting with their students, it's amazing. I mean, to witness what we have in our learning and our programs and how they're utilizing it with flexible seating. Unless you're actually there watching it, you're missing out. And when you walk around with the principal in elementary school, it's like walking around with a rock star. Everybody's like, hi, hi, hi. And it's like, wow. So it's that experience. It is that opportunity to see exactly what's going on when it is happening that is critical.
Thank you. Okay, the next question will start with Megan. All right. Do you have special interests? In other words, special needs, athletics, arts, things like that? Not do you represent any special interests, but do you have special kind of academic interests or extracurricular interests that you want to focus on? Special needs, athletic, student interests, yes, absolutely. Sorry. I'm just reading it.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I think that I have a lot of ideas. I already stated them before, focusing on mental health for students, student safety, environmental programs, community partnership. Also, the arts programs are very important to our schools. It's important to not only focus on academics and books, but we need to make sure that we are making the whole child successful. And so that's a great thing too about Redondo, is that we do focus on the whole child education, and that's what I would like to improve and continue to see in Palos Verdes. So arts programs are definitely important. Language programs, like Jeannie stated, language in the elementary schools. I remember when I was in 4th grade, I did take Spanish about once or twice a week before school started with one of the teachers. And it's unfortunate to hear that that's not happening anymore. And so language is so important, especially at an early age. And so language, arts, sports, music, I think that everything is important, not just the books. And so those are some things I'm passionate about. And of course, I want to hear from the community. You are actually involved in it, and your children are involved. And so I want to hear from you on anything else that is important to you.
Thank you. Jeannie?
As you know, I'm very interested in mental health, and I'm also interested in bringing back world language back to elementary schools. We used to have it when my daughter was in kindergarten, and it was really nice to have. And also AVID back to middle schools. I would love to see the AVID program back. It's not there anymore. And also safety. Just safety, what I mean safety, I mean bullying, the facilities to be safe, a lot of those kind of issues. And also what I call anchor programs. Anchor programs are programs that our kids can join, like clubs, to make sure they have some place where they feel connected to, where they feel like they have friends or adult that can oversee what they're doing. It's important, especially with our budget cuts and how our base funding is so low, that we make sure that we have these type of programs for our kids, because if we don't, then these kids are going to drift. And we need to look at that. Because when a kid feels like there's nothing holding them down, then we're going to start seeing problems. Then we're going to start seeing increase in drug use. And we have to have those programs. And you know what I would love to do is, I've been out in the community and I've met so many wonderful people who want to give back, who want to do something for our district and somehow connect with them. And I want to reach out to them, because we have a community of people who no longer have children in the district, who want to come back and help out. And that's one thing I want to connect with.
Thank you. Matt?
I agree that mental health is the program I want to focus on the most. When you look at our high school students, 1 in 4 are depressed, 1 in 5 have seriously contemplated suicide. Just a thought, a passing thought, has seriously contemplated it. We can't have that. And unfortunately, it's not just endemic of our hill. It is a national problem. And so our programs, we need to be able to help our students, as Jeannie said, to find other outlets, to find other activities, to find things that they can grab onto when one thing falls. And to do this, we really need the cooperation of the parents. We need to be able to reach the parents and allow the parents the tools that they have, knowing that things have changed, our students are in danger, and we need to help them. One other thing that I would really love to see would be the continuity of programs. We have so many wonderful programs up here, and oftentimes they are led by one person. And when that person leaves, the program dies. So as a district, we need to make sure that we are training somebody to take over the program when they leave. A program that only exists for 6 months or 3 years is not an effective program. These programs take time, and they're worth it.
Thank you. Rick?
So one of the things that I really feel is really important is that we offer essentially a program for every kid and every level kid that allows them to get to their highest achievement level. We actually do, I think, a pretty good job of that at the high school, and that's where you see those choices open up. And that you have something for that kid who may not be college bound, may just aspire to a career, to somebody that's looking to be a PhD and a world-class researcher. And so I think it's important to have all those tracks from CTE, regular ed, honors, AP, and have that available. The other thing that I like about the high school culture is that there is just a plethora of clubs and interests. If you are interested in something like this, you can join a club of like-minded people. And I think that that's really important to the kids' social and emotional well-being, is that they find their potted kids that are like them and that they can feel that they belong to. And if you have an interest that there isn't a club around, you can start one. And I think our district is really supportive of that, and I think that that's important. I do think that it's important to take advantage of the community's expertise, and for example, there's a Korean teacher who's going out for a conference, and so we've reached out now to the Korean community to have somebody come in to help the substitute teacher so that we can take advantage of their domain expertise. So we have a substitute teacher who doesn't know anything about Korean, but they can supplement them with a community member who actually can speak Korean. So I think that it's really good to involve the community that way. And there's a lot of other ideas that I propose from the board table in terms of improving the district that way.
Thank you. Okay, this question will start with Jeannie. Pvpusd's teacher salary schedule and benefits are lower than a number of surrounding districts. Do you believe this is an issue? And if so, how would you address it?
But thank you for giving me the easy one first. Yeah, I appreciate that. This is a tough question. I think we all value teachers. We all think that we want to pay our teachers a fair sum of money because it's important, because in order to attract and keep quality teachers, we have to give them pay. We have to pay them a fair wage. There's not too many places where you just give them 1% increase and we're going to have people stay. It's a very complicated issue that we have. And I would want our teachers to feel like they're valued. I think that's even more important than the salary. Well, I wouldn't say that, sorry. I think the salary is very important. But I think our teachers really need to feel like they're valued and respected in our community. And that's really, I think, the heart of the matter that's been happening for the last couple of years with the teachers in the district, is they've been feeling undervalued and not respected. So it's not just an issue of money, I think, it's an issue of how they feel in our district. And of course, we want to pay our teachers what we can. We want to pay them a fair salary. I've talked to the teachers about the benefit package, and if you ever seen the benefit package they have, it's not good. It is not a good package, and we have to fix that. We have to work with that. Because if you work for a company and any other company that had this benefit package, I think you'd be a little concerned. But I think the heart of the matter is two things. One is we need to make sure our teachers feel respected and valued. And the other is to really do pay them a fair salary. But we also are limited within our budget constraints sometimes.
Thank you. Matt?
So do teachers deserve a raise? Absolutely. We have great teachers and we want to keep them. But it's not that simple. We have a lot of other issues in our district that we need to focus on. We have overcrowding in classrooms. My daughter's Spanish class, for example, has 38 students in it. How do you teach with 38 students? So what we need to do is we need to look at how we can save money. Where can we cut costs? If we're asking our teachers to sacrifice, we need to sacrifice ourselves as a district. We need to make sure that every dollar is going where it should go, and it should go to the teachers. We need to make sure, however, that we have the money, and it's kind of scary when you say a 1% increase. You know, it doesn't sound like very much, but when you add in the benefits, that's $900,000, that's $1 million.